Hey everybody, it's Kit here. Full disclosure. Disclaimer. Okay. I just had adventurous eating. If you follow me on Twitter, you know that I had Mediterranean food recently. That's tonight. My stomach feels awful. So this might be a shorter episode. I don't know. But we're gonna try it. Lord have mercy, my stomach does not feel good. But anyway. Anyway. Welcome back to another crochet vlog. I think I'm going to be putting together squares. Is it either that or a shawl? I don't know yet. Who knows? It might just be me reading just this. You might not actually have a crochet vlog. You may just have a reading vlog, which might turn into a throwing up vlog. I don't know. But I can't go to sleep right now because I don't feel good. So it's like, what else am I supposed to do? Because I can't quite stomach playing games right now. So we're gonna read is what we're gonna do. We're gonna do this and we're gonna hope and pray that this just goes well. So last episode, we finished chapter 5, which was Trial of the Queen. Eli blazed the irony of that, actually, because I just remember one of the characters is either names Blake or Blaze. Blazed through the remaining 3 contestants to face off against the final contestant, which was Dimitri Dim. And they kind of had a little bit of a heated moment, and basically she kind of sort of outsmarted him / he conceded. They have a little bit of a vibe going on, some history. He's a little mad at her because he thought she was cool and oh no, she's a Laveau, and the Laveaus are the bad guys, according to the walkers. And she was just like, oh hell no, you're not looping me in with them. I didn't even know this was a thing. I just got told I'm the heir of this bullcrap. I don't like this bullcrap. I don't want this bullcrap. So no, you're gonna take it back. He's just like, oh, and your dad, Trevor, so, and well, Trevor is not Eli's dad. She took that, and she's mad. So she basically told him to shut his mouth. Which is fair. Her dad was cool. Trevor, not so cool. Anywho. Big, messy chapter. Definitely one that needs to be, this entire book needs to be fixed. Anywho. Let's jump in, shall we, before my hero, gyro, whatever, comes up to say howdy. So we are on chapter 6, Aftermath. I would like to say things get better for Eli. They really don't. Sorry. You got a little bit? Yes, she's put herself to bed. Okay. Sorry about that. My mom just came in. Just wondering where Bandit was. She's on my bed. I just got informed that Bandit threw up on Mom and Dad's bed. And then she ate it. And then she came and she licked all over my face. So I just had to go wash my face. Can I have a redo on my 2023 year, please? This is lovely. Okay, we're going to start reading now. Lovely. A storm of voices erupted just as the clock ended its echoing chimes. A flurry of anger, shock, and disbelief hit my senses like a freight train, sending me to my butt on the cold marble floors. Dim flinched as his father reached him, yanking him up by his collar and yelling profanities that were best left unspoken in his ears. I felt sorry for him in spite of myself and the threats we had just uttered to each other. It was like a crowd of angry peasants with torches and pitchforks was surrounding us, except they were sophisticated people who had just lost a costly bet against me, the newcomer to the horse track. It was terrifying, and there was nothing to do but to keep my cool. I tried and failed to stand under the rolls of furious magic several times, until I managed to get to my feet, stumbling up. As calmly as I could under the circumstances, I had gone deaf by now. Seriously, get a grip, folks. I looked around for Caroline and the others and spied them not moving in the same corner where they had been before, faces slack with relief and eyes wide with shock. Useless. Who I didn't expect to find was Marie, standing just outside of the circle the angry walkers had set around me with a pleased smile on her face. Her deep forest green eyes sparkled with mischief and satisfaction. She began to speak in my mind, obviously mindful of my numb ears and the deafening white noise of the people miming throttling me. Why I wasn't dead by now, I probably would never know. Maybe the house was protecting me in its own way. Who knew? I haven't seen the walkers this beside themselves since the fight that began these trials long ago. Her voice sounded amused in my head, paired with immense pleasure. Fight? A fight began these stupid trials? Goodness, who screwed up that badly? Whoever they were, I could easily shoot them in the face and get a great night's sleep. Speaking of sleep, that sounded way good right now. I was exhausted. My descendants, your ancestors. But some things are better left unsaid, or, shall we say, discovered. She gave me a conspirator's wink that just left me feeling frustrated and curious. Darn you, Marie Laveau. She continued, smiling slightly. You must get them to quiet down. You are the heir. You're the winner this generation. Make them come to terms with it quickly before this gets out of hand. Oh, gee, don't we just love Marie? Just like, here you go, you gotta fix it. I groaned loudly, the sound going mute by all of the angry shouts and yells still going on. Sheesh, folks. I won, y'all lost. Get over it already. It's been 10 minutes, and this rate I'll never go to bed, I growled, fed up with their petty tantrums, and shouted at the top of my rather impressive lungs. All right, enough. I have had enough of this. Either be quiet and courteous, or just leave, for God's sakes. I let out a blast of energy that made my voice grow deep, easily overcoming their riot, and almost immediately everyone quieted down and backed off of me, allowing me some much-needed breathing room. I took a deep breath and let it out, my eyes blazing with power. Finally, I glared at the crowd and let them know just how much I wasn't joking. A few looked at me coolly, apparently thinking I was no threat, and gave dim, disparaging, and disappointed looks. He kept his eyes down on the floor, glaring at his shoelaces. I bit the inside of my cheek to keep from smirking. No need to ruin any more of his ego. The rest swallowed as they met my different-colored eyes, and curiosity and awareness showed in their own as they said their quiet goodbyes and quickly left. Soon it was just the Laveaux, Narcus, Dim, and the rest of the boys from the trial, all of whom looked worse for wear. The twins looked beat up, with heavy bruises everywhere, and one of them was minus a white jacket. A faint blush still tinged their cheeks, which made me bite my lip to keep from laughing. Blonde spirit animal guy was being supported by a very pale green Clover, who was breathing heavily and, bleeding from a lot of cuts and burns, which I was assuming he had absorbed from his precious plants. Walking Mountain helped Clover with Blondie, cursing every step he took as it stretched his very burnt and crispy skin. I winced. They all looked worse for wear, and when Dim saw them, he gave a high-pitched, strangled cat sound, looking at them in horror before gazing at me with new eyes. I simply grinned cheekily, which pissed him off and made the tips of his ears stick out of his curtain of hair turn a deep red. I turned my attention to a fuming Narcus who was doing deep breathing exercises to calm down, but anyone could tell it wasn't working very well. Footsteps coming up from behind me made me remember Caroline and the others. A quick peek around showed Maria to come closer as well as stand at my side. No one could see her, it seemed. I briefly wondered why. All right, Narcus, we won fair and square. Time to give this foolish fight up, my mother said, rather snootily, I might add. I scoffed. We? Oh, no, honey. There was no we. It was me. For reasons unbeknownst to me that annoyed me far more than I cared to admit, there was no we. There would never be a we. That I was sure of. Narcus seemed to share my sentiments. He laughed scathingly in her face, and she flinched in utter disgust when spit landed on her cheek. That's gross. That was on purpose, wasn't it? This guy just loves getting under people's skin, I thought to Marie, my eyes narrowing in his towering frame as he glared over my mother. Indeed. We. Ha 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 ha. Oh no, dearest Ari. It was her. Only her. And I will bow only to her. Excuse me. If she knows the rituals that must be served. Otherwise, we are done. He said it with all the glee of a kid being offered lots and lots of candy, turning his cruel, stormy eyes at me. I raised my eyebrow at his ugly expression of haughtiness. It really did not suit his otherwise handsome face. Marie? What other rituals? I asked desperately, resisting the overwhelming urge to look in her direction. I felt a small breeze settle as Marie moved by me, still unseen by the rest. He must swear fealty to you and to the coven. Morpheus and you must have a blood oath of confidence and leadership, as he is your male equal. Where you are the queen, he is your consort. Where you are priestess, he is your right hand. I mentally groaned, wondering how stupid this next sentence would sound. I groaned out loud this time and threw my hands up in the air. All right, swear your fealty and all that jazz now. I do have work in the morning, you know, I said through gritted teeth, fighting back on. I had gone over 48 hours without proper sleep in a proper bed. It was safe to say I was getting a wee bit cranky. Narcissus' jaw dropped in stunned disbelief. I remembered what he said earlier about the no training and the no warnings. I wonder how many walkers have been able to wiggle their way out of being in the coven by using the oaths and whatnot the Laveaux were supposed to know, but obviously didn't. Many. Marie answered my unspoken question. Narcus finally grumbled at my withering glare. Sorry if you accidentally tapped the mic. I don't know if it peaked or not. Sorry. Finally grumbled at my withering glare, but stiffly bent down on one knee and began to speak in a different language. At Marie's ghostly nudge, I turned my laser-like glare at the rest of the Walker posse. I gestured at them. You all too. Dim's friends, or cousins, or brothers, I had no idea. Just the rest of them began to groan and whine, saying why and all of that. Hey, you all were fighting me earlier, and some of you really pissed me off, so you know what? Get on your knees and start swearing, kissing my feet, or whatever else you have to do, I all but snarled at them. That shut them up. I have to say, this really does not show Eli in a good light. But, you know what? She doesn't have to be a goody two-shoes all the time, and if anything else, she is just really sarcastic. And she's really tired. I mentioned this is not a good first draft. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Soon I was surrounded by kneeling men, and I felt the tethers of magic that bound them together, whether it be blood or by bond, unravel and tie themselves to me. It was a riveting feeling. All of the power, yet the strong bond shared between them, all amazed me. I could feel their anger, their secret fears, and humility, and whether or not they liked chocolate or vanilla. I tried hard not to look too deeply into that last one. That sort of decision made you judge a person because it defined their character, you know? After a few moments more, they got up and backed up, probably disgusted with themselves for bowing to a girl or something like that. I mentally scoffed and shook my head at them. Boys. Marie's amused smile appeared in the corner of my eye. I stepped towards Dim, who just looked resigned at the entire thing. Narcus began to splutter in disbelief when Dim took out a small switchblade from his back pocket. He sliced his right palm open without so much as a wince and held out the bloody blade to me. I took it and sliced my hand, resisting the knee-jerk flinch that came with it. I couldn't afford to look weaker to any of these people, even if they were about to be part of my so-called coven. Together we grasped our bloody palms and spoke. Oh, I'm gonna butcher this, aren't I? Hoc sanguine nos. Utque per arenas mors exitus. Me toi sunt, et toi, mais quid? Is this Latin or French? Well, technically this kind of sounds like French and Spanish, but I know it's Latin. But Latin is the root language for French and Spanish. Oh boy. Itake ayura fit. Told you I'd butcher it. With this blood, we are one. Through the sands of time and rivers of death. What is mine is yours, and what is yours is mine. And so, the bond is made. A nuclear explosion of power fizzed under our palms and through our bloodstreams. We instinctively tightened our hold on each other as the force tried to pull us apart. Different magics, different worlds. Sounds about right, doesn't it, 13-year-old me? I thought ironically as my muscles strained with the effort. Our magics were fighting each other tooth and nail for dominance, until minutes later they both subsided, neither won nor lost. They simply were. We let go of each other's hands instantly as if we had been burned, when not a mark was on either of our palms. I blew out a breath and closed my eyes for a moment. All right, well, now that is done, do you still have a residence in New York, Narcus? Magnolia Avenue house, wasn't it? Caroline shakily inquired. Narcus nodded, mouth thin. Yes, we will move in within the week. His voice was clipped, angered. He was also lying. My eyes flashed open, staring at him. In my mind's eye, I saw myself once more on that suburban street in Dim's mind. Magnolia trees framing the picturesque house and the large sold sign. You sold that place 3 years ago, so why are you lying now? I blurted out, staring back at Narcus and Dim as they both whipped around to stare at me. Dim narrowed his eyes and glared at me as he realized I must have been in his head and mouthed at me from behind his father. Who's the peeping Tom now? Funny, I didn't know he had a sense of humor. And just how do you know that? Narcus roared with the voice of an angry lion, but with the hurt pride of a kitten trying to be tough. I stifled a grin as Carolyn and the others' faces went slack with shock and humor again. I have my ways. I waved my hand submissively in his direction, stepping closer to him with our eyes meeting head on. My voice went lower. And don't think about lying in my face again. I don't like it, I barely whispered, my eyes glowing briefly before stepping away. His mouth turned into a white line across his masculine face. He growled before quickly shutting his emotions off, looking like a stony mannequin. Dim eyed me warily, the only one in the crowd beside his father who had seen my eyes glow as they had. With power. Clearing her throat, Carolyn approached Narcus and began discussing living arrangements in a low tone. Well, discuss was a bit of a weak word. Arguing might be a better choice. Both of them quietly stepped away when things got really tense, and that left the rest of us standing around awkwardly. Trevor murmured to Ariana while gently shifting a sleeping Victor to his other shoulder, and they both stepped away to talk. That left the teens injured and pissed off in a semicircle. It was Dim and his crew of sucky sportsmen. They were all pouting. Come on, I didn't hurt their egos that badly, did I? And even Madeline versus me. I raised my eyebrow at her. Sure, we didn't like each other, and I guess I was chosen as this heir thing instead of her, but we were half-sisters. That had to count for something, didn't it? I guess not, since she gave me a withering glare and stepped closer to the losers. I resisted scoffing. It was probably a good thing when my phone began giving me that jolting, scary alarm noise. Beep, beep, beep. Gosh, it was so annoying, but it did scare me into being more awake. I smirked, remembering whose ringtone that was. Simon had been so pissed off when I jokingly gave it to him, saying that seeing as he always called me with alarming bad news, he got the alarm ringtone. After that, he started calling me with more good news and just to chat, but I never did change it. It was perfect for times like this, because who would call for a social visit at, I looked at my display before answering, almost 1 a.m.? Yeah, no, nobody. Unless they're in a completely different time zone, different part of the world. They ain't doing that. Nobody doing that. And it would basically take that alarm tone to wake me up at 1 a.m. If I'm asleep, I'm asleep. Simon, do you have any idea what time it is? I turned away, walking to get some privacy from the glares and Dim's curious yet off-putting stare, lingering on certain body parts before quickly diverting. There are times when I'm reading this and I'm just like, oh my gosh, I can definitely tell that I am 25 now and I was 18 then. I can definitely tell. Well, 17. I was 16, 17 when I was writing this. Oh, I'm sorry. I'd like to say I've gotten better as a writer since, but honestly, I have no idea because I don't share. So, when I do eventually share, y'all are just maybe going to have to tell me. I don't know. You might also not care. I don't know. Let's just keep going. You know, you say that every time I call you off hours. What if I wanted to kidnap you for a late night showing or something? Simon's voice sharply rang in my ear, annoyed and amused at the same time. It was our phone ritual. I can't speak. Lovely. It was our phone ritual, even if it wasted time, which it probably was, but I didn't care. So you don't know what time it is then, because there wouldn't be any late night showings either of us would be interested in. I stepped out into the hall and leaned tiredly against the wall. Okay, hit me. Peter tracked down Sephora's fang, which he expressly was told by me not to do, and he went after it on his own, which I expressly told him not to do. Now he was calling for backup, which he shouldn't even be doing, because I expressly told him not to go. Simon took a deep, relaxing breath at the end of the rant, which left me confused and blinking before my exhausted brain got back on track. Guess no sleep for me tonight. Oh, God, poor girl. Okay, where is he and what's the backup for? I cracked my back as I stood upright, beginning to jog away, half listening to the smacks of my feet hitting the granite and echoing through the dark hall. Shanghai, and he's at some ritual site of which he didn't even know the name, which is occupied by several snake shifters. He began cursing to let his feelings out, of which I shared the sentiment. I bit my lip to keep myself from joining in and getting a lecture, stopping by the little room of where the trial started, grabbing my ruined leather jacket from the top of the ruined bookshelf. Maybe a tailor could fix it or something. Maybe a saddle maker? Once Simon stopped cursing long enough to breathe, I got a question in. How many is several? The hot, muggy air went straight up my nose and had me coughing and choking. Ugh, humidity. Yeah, definitely awful humidity. The swamp made squelching noises under my shoes as I made my way back to the portal which had come back for me. Yay! You don't want to know, was the answer I got, and with that, I began to curse and earn my first lecture of the night. Knowing Simon and my own tactics, there would be plenty more later. Simon. Oh yeah. ... Hours later. Simon, let me kill him. Just please let me kill him. It would save everyone lots of heartache. I gritted my teeth as another wave of nauseating pain hit me, and I doubled over, hissing and letting a whole new slur of blush-worthy words from my mouth. Several hands gently patted my back, and a few firm hands lifted me back out to a somewhat standing position, pretty much supporting my entire weight. Wait. I could barely hear Simon's reply over the pounding of my feverish head. Well, I would, but then you would lose the arm, and the venom would probably penetrate your heart. My office, come on now, let's get to the anti-venom. Another wave of pain hit, and then I was on the ground. The hands gave up, and just began to drag me by the back of my bloodied leather jacket, which was probably trashed by now. I had no control of my muscles. They were all seizing and twitching as my head rolled from side to side uselessly. I was in so much pain, yet the only thing I could think of was murdering Peter, who wasn't nearly as beat up as I was, his eyes cast down to the floor as Rosa shouted furiously at him. None of us knew Spanish, but even an imbecile could recognize a swear word here or there. I blacked out for a minute or two until the hands lifted me onto Simon's sterile corpse table, as I like to call it. In reality, it was, but it was also our medical cot. Still, I didn't want to be laying there where a corpse had been not even a month ago, but I had no choice. The hands brandished scissors, needles, bandages, and washcloths to wipe all of the gushing blood away futilely. The scissors snipped away my clothing, leaving me clad in my plain underwear, and the needles went into either my good arm as an IV or sewing up my lesser wounds. What was the major wound, you ask? My left arm had been bitten by about 12 of the horrible little viper shifters as I had gone to protect Peter's useless hide. The stupid things took after the golden lancehead vipers of the infamous Snake Island over in God knows where. Of course, I had magic running in my veins, and that was the only thing keeping me alive, at least until we could get to the anti-venom, which I could feel seeping coldly into my boiling veins right now. As the washcloths started practically slicking the blood off my arm, I could pretty much see that my skin was just barely hanging on to my bones. They had practically eaten it. My stomach chortled, which went unnoticed by everyone. My eyes found Rosa hovering above me, dabbing at my sweaty forehead, clucking over me worriedly. My stomach chortled, and this time she heard it. She took one look at my panicked face and grabbed the waste basket. I heaved up the entirety of my stomach, including lunch from 3 days before. Well, this night ended nicely, huh? ... After a catnap and water, I felt much better and less murderous after watching both Simon, Roger, and Rosa tear into Peter. I was wearing some way too big basketball shorts, courtesy of Xander, and a men's medium white t-shirt, courtesy of Simon. I looked like a poofy marshmallow man. Half of my face had band-aids on it. My stitches itched everywhere, and I was walking funny. My left arm was covered in thick plaster and in a sling. Not for the first time, I sincerely wish we had an in-house medic. Rosa had tried to convince me to go to the hospital ward a few floors up, but I refused. I would probably pick up something far worse there that would kill me. Yeah, I don't like hospitals either. Funny enough, I was about to work at one. I was studying to be an anesthesiologist. So glad I'm not doing that no more. I wanted nothing more than to go home, and I planned on doing so. When I walked into the reception area and almost leaped out of my battered skin. Surprise! Everyone yelled, blowing party horns and popping confetti over me. I shrieked and then gasped in surprise, laughing with everyone in my expression. Rosa was there by the counter, jumping up and down on the balls of her feet, clapping in happiness, right beside a very yummy-looking homemade cake with 17 birthday candles scattered around the edges. Oh, I am a cruel author. I made her go through all of that on her birthday. Oh, I'd want to kill me, too. Happy birthday, Eli! You almost died. I limped closer, my band-aids starting to peel off with my grin. Written neatly with slightly gooey icing were the words, Happy 17th, Eli! I smelled the air and almost swooned. It smelled delicious and was still cooling down. In other words, Rosa's fantastic cooking. I hugged her tightly, enjoying the moment. Thank you, I whispered in her ear. She hugged me back gently, keeping in mind my numerous injuries. After the hug, I looked around. Roger, Trevor, even Xander was there. Peter and Simon's absence was noted, and I grinned a little wider, knowing exactly what that meant. Simon was known to be vicious when angered. It was no wonder he was the head of our department. Cheered up greatly, I got up close to the cake, and everyone sang the happy birthday song, adding many more on the end as I strained my bruised ribs and blew out all the candles with one blow. Getting some cake, I sat down stiffly in one of our waiting chairs right beside the modest pile of presents and waited for everyone to join me. It was a great party. All of us joking together, eating cake and some other delectable treats, courtesy of Rosa, and just having a good time. It didn't matter that we had almost lost our lives mere hours ago, or that some of us, mainly me, were bandaged head to toe. We were all together and alive. Because who knew where we would all be tomorrow? I was pulled out of my pondering thoughts by Trevor tossing a present at me, which I... Oh, yeah, okay. Oh. I don't know what it is, but I always have someone named Trevor in my writings somewhere, like a parent figure or just someone who's a family friend or something. Their name's Trevor. I don't know why. It just seems like a good background character name for me. And I'm sitting here trying to figure out, did I name are there 2 Trevors in this book? I was pulled out of my pondering thoughts by Trevor tossing a present at me, which bounced off of my sling and fell to the floor. Thankfully, I was so pumped up with morphine that I couldn't feel a thing. I just gave him a droll look and enjoyed how Rosa smacked him on the back of the head and retrieved the fallen gift from me. Thanks, I smiled gratefully at her, before fumbling to unwrap it one-handed without help. Inside was another box, this time with tape. I narrowed my eyes at the tape and grasped my fork clumsily. I began to stab at the offending tape, gritting my teeth at Trevor's helpless laughter. I did consider using the chaotic magic from the Coven's lair, but I didn't feel like trying to keep it away from my friends. Who knew what it could do? Inside of this was another box. And it was a small jewelry box, so Rosa cheerfully opened it for me, backwards so I was the first person to see it. It was a necklace with a miniature hourglass attached to it. Inside of it was colored speckles of sand. It was mesmerizing and beautiful. It exuded a light, graceful magic that reminded me of the wind at the beach back home in California. I smiled at Trevor, who shrugged sleeplessly. The colored sand is actually old magical gems that have been depleted and reprocessed. If you flip the hourglass and think really hard, it can show you any image in your mind, as long as it's in the past. I nodded my understanding, saying thanks to him and slowly putting it around my neck. It was comforting to have and a very sweet gift. Okay, before we continue. So it's kind of a family tradition every now and then to just cover boxes and gifts in duct tape. And sometimes, like, wire. You know, just basically make them annoying, difficult to open. It's great. Okay. Yeah. The next present was in a long rectangular box and was from Rosa. I opened it to find a gorgeous dress, carefully folded. It was a delightful light sea green color with straps that met at the base of the neck, perfect for the casual day or paired with some heels and jewelry. I swallowed as I figured the silky fabric. It's gorgeous, Rosa. Thank you so much. I swallowed back the rush of emotion that threatened to spill over onto my cheeks. The rest of the gifts were quickly opened after those 2. Xander's gift was a comic he had drawn about me and what I did for a living. The title was Eli Kicks Ass. Title aside, he had some serious talent, I thought, as I admired its glossy pages. Of course, I looked like I had D-cup breasts and a serious bubble butt, but it was nice of him regardless. Comic books, what you gonna do? Rosa looked at him disapprovingly, and he blushed and ducked out to head on home. Oh, Eli, don't lead him on, honey, okay? I frowned at her, not understanding before giving up. I was too tired to try and decipher what the comic meant. Roger had given me a year's worth of subscriptions to both Xbox Live and PlayStation Network, as well as a $100 gift card for both. I grinned at him as he began to shop in my head. Now, this guy knew the way to my heart. Yes, he's also been around you since you were in diapers, dear. Peter had gotten me a t-shirt from a tourist shop in Washington, D.C., which was going to Goodwill later. Peter, a t-shirt from a tourist shop in Washington, D.C. The office is underneath Washington, D.C. He did nothing. And Simon, the funny guy, had collected more paperwork and files that he wanted me to start working on tomorrow. God, can you imagine just opening a present from your boss and it's just work? That would suck. Rosa, Trevor, and I had a good laugh over that before we all went our separate ways. I left the files at the foot of his door with the words, "I'm taking the day off," on a sticky note on top. It was time for me to head back to the brownstone and sleep. And, we're going to keep going next time, because it's been about 35-ish minutes. I'm just curious. Let me do a thing. But yeah. Oh my gosh. My nose is itchy. We don't like itching noses. Itchy. Okay. Okay, so yeah, started off a little oof with the whole like Narcus thing and everything else, but then after that it was really nice and funny. Definitely need to work on the stupid. I'm just trying to see where the next chapter is at, because I know there's a decent chunk of this chapter left. 72. I should be able to get done with this next time. Oh yeah, only like 4 or 5 pages. Not a big deal. Easy enough. 5 pages. Yeah. Definitely some bumps and a lot of things I'm seeing that I am planning on fixing, changing, improving on, all of that. But then there's just, I mean, if it makes me laugh, you know. So, yeah. I really do want to get to writing this year. I do want to work on this, but I am working on A Witch's Debt first, just because that's kind of where my head is right now. And it's going to be for a while. I mean, I basically have rough draft in my head of the first 4 books of that series. So whereas for this one, it's like it's been so long. I know what I wanted to do for the second one. Rereading the first is showing me a lot of things that I need to solve, fix, and whatnot before I even consider writing the second one. Oh, I did like the names. Lost in Time, the first one. Hidden from the Hourglass, the second one. I like the time theme. It's kind of fun. So, yeah. The point is that I really do want to get back to writing. I really enjoy it. It's also I want that whole publishing thing, right? Kind of a scary thought in my head. Just that word, just that thought. Been bouncing around my skull for a few years. I never really thought about before that whole thing happened with the person. Back in like frickin' September. I never really considered like that I wasn't necessarily good enough. I don't know, it just kind of, when I thought about publishing, it was more of it's got potential, you know, you just need to clean it up, you know, iron out the problems, dot your I's, dot your T's, get some beta readers, you know, you need to actually share and try and shore it up before you take the plunge on that. That was kind of what I was doing, and I never really went for it. But with A Witch's Debt, since I'm rewriting it, I really do want to try and either finish the rewrite this year or get a really good chunk of it done and really just look at my options for publishing this year, whether that's self-publishing or whatnot, to even to see like my book, my name on Amazon or like in my hands at Barnes and Noble or something, you know, like it's kind of crazy to think about that that's something that I kind of want to try, especially with how I'm feeling now. It's making these videos has helped so much, and posting to Twitter has helped a lot with the writing confidence. But I don't know really how I'm going to keep progressing and keep trying to be better and move past the hateful comments and the hurtful comment that is still in my head. Like my own Discord. I deleted. I have a Discord server. When it kind of hit, when the person said what they said, there's a section in the Discord, because a lot of us are like artistic and stuff, right? So I have like different sections, and one of them was writing things. And I would post small snippets or this or that, or links, stuff like that. But what I did was I went through, I was just really upset, and I deleted everything I'd ever shared. And it was kind of knee-jerk, and I just did it, and like, sharing in there, I still feel like I can't. It fills me with panic. I kind of want to cry. Even sharing, like, oh, look, I made a new hat, or, like, the squares that I'm doing, or the shawl, or whatever I would be working on in this video. I don't really share any of that in the art channel, or, like, the crafts channel. It's hard enough to share my pictures into the, like, plants channel. And it just sucks that that confidence is gone. And I don't know how to get it back. But being able to do these crochet vlogs and read this out here helps a lot. So I know I keep saying it, but thank you to whoever is still listening to these, even giving it 5 seconds of your time, or hell, the entire thing, because, you know, I've been sitting here rambling for 5 minutes, and it's like been 45 minutes. So yeah, thank you for being here. That being said, I am gonna end this, and I will see you all in the next episode for more of Eli and the second half of chapter 6, Aftermath, and whatever yarn project we'll be working on then. Have a great Tuesday and have a great week. Bye.